What is up, you beautiful people, and welcome back to the Upper 90 YouTube channel. In today's video, we are talking about Everton's manager who they look like they're signing, which happens to be Frank Lampard. He has his second interview later this week, so it seems like he will be the guy being appointed to this club. We need to dive deeper into this and how big of a role this will be for not only Everton, but for Frank Lampard. So stick around as we dive deeper into this. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Mike, huge fan of the Premier League, very biased since I'm a huge Chelsea fan when it comes to topics dealing with Chelsea. This one, again, being about Frank Lampard, yes, it's going to make me a little bit biased as well, but hopefully when you see the numbers, it makes sense of what I say about Frank today. Now, if you are new to this channel, I would greatly appreciate if you can hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. It helps grow this channel, helps get this video to more and more fans such as yourself. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Frank Lampard seems to be on his way to Everton. They are having a second meeting with this guy. Now, I know there was a few other players. We did make a video about that. If you have not watched it, go back and watch it. There was a few other managers that maybe could be possible for this position. Wayne Rooney being one of those other players. Like I said, there was a few others. Nino, who again was let go by Tottenham, but more or less it seemed like Frank Lampard was going to be the guy that was going to take on this role at Everton. Now, as we know, Everton is kind of a sinking ship. They've definitely been struggling the last couple of weeks, last month, if you want to say. When Rafa Benitez was there, they've been just not doing anything capable of winning matches. They keep dropping points. Currently, they are not in the relegation zone, but like I mentioned earlier, then another video is that they could drop into relegation fairly quickly. Burnley has multiple games in hands, and Everton, like I said, doesn't have a very easy fixture going ahead of themselves lately or coming up soon. Now, what I want to talk about Frank Lampard is certain numbers. Now, I'm going to be looking at my computer a little bit here, but I will have this posted on the video as well. The first one I want to look at is Frank Lampard's managerial record when he was at Derby County. Now, if you don't recall, he did manage there first in the Championship League and did really, really well with this club. Actually got them into 6th place and got into the playoffs, which that's by itself is a massive accomplishment for any manager in the Championship, because that is always a hard league to get into the playoffs. Not only that, though, he got his team all the way into the final where they ended up losing to Aston Villa 2-1, I believe. Something along those lines, but Aston Villa had a lot more firepower than Derby County. And the fact that Frank was so close to bringing them back up to the Premier League gives you kind of an idea that, yes, he has these capabilities of making smaller clubs play better. Not saying Everton is this small of a club, but they have been struggling, and you could almost consider them being a smaller club compared to the rest of the Premier League. Now, while he was there, though, 57 games, 24 won, 17 draws, 16 losses, goals forward 90, goals against 70. His win average was 42%. Now, that isn't really a stand-up win percentage. Obviously, if you're only winning 40% of your games, you're not going to be winning any titles in the Championship or in the Premier League. But that is a good percentage to keep you at least up for the most part. And if you can keep building each and every season after that, you can slowly chip away and get a bigger win percentage, which again, Everton is capable of doing that. They have the players. They just can't get the right combination going. Yes, they've been hit with injuries, COVID obviously, and a few other things. That being said, though, if they can get the right manager to come in, tinker around with the formation, the tactics, this could be a well-oiled machine if they can get things going in the right direction sooner than later. But this is going to be a massive task for Frank Lampard. Now, that was with Derby County. We obviously have to talk about Chelsea while he was there too, because he did manage a club, the best team in London. If you did not know, that is Chelsea. He did manage them for 2 seasons, where it's a very odd thing to say that he didn't do a good job, because he was put under a lot of stress while he was there. Didn't have any transfers coming in until the last season when he was let go. There was a transfer ban, so again, he had to use a lot of his youth players, and he did fairly well in his first season. Chelsea ended up finishing 4th, which by any standards was a miracle that year, because again, we had lost Eden Hazard. We weren't capable of bringing anyone in. I think maybe Kovacic was the only technical player that came in, because we already had bought him before our ban. So Frank had to work with what he had, and I think that might be a good reason why he might be a good fit for Everton. Now, that being said, though, we still need to look at the numbers with Frank Lampard at Chelsea. And if you compare that to the rest of the managers that were there, this again isn't showing all the games that they had. I think there's a few missing in this one, but Frank Lampard had actually the lowest points per game. He had 1.67 from 55 matches, and he had a 49% win rate at Chelsea. So he's gone up since Derby County. So again, 50% isn't terrible again for a smaller club in the Champions League or in the Championship, or again in the Premier League. 50% should keep you up for the most part, and I think Frank Lampard can do that. But when you're comparing to the rest of the managers, AVB, Ranier, Di Matteo, Sarri, all these guys were just slightly better, even though, again, they didn't have that winning mentality as well. But Frank Lampard, I think, can definitely keep this team up if he's capable of doing that. Now, why I think that is because, like I said, he was able to keep Chelsea in 4th position with a very young squad, got them to an FA Cup final where they ended up losing to Arsenal. Controversial on that, Anthony Taylor. We won't go into that. But he almost won a trophy with Chelsea in that season. And then, obviously, you know what happened. We brought a bunch of players in. Frank Lampard wasn't able to manage all those great players and therefore was let go and has been just vacant since then. But I think at Everton, there's not as much, ego going on with all these players that Frank Lampard could definitely, like I said, make sure he gets what he needs out of these players and keep Everton out of the relegation. Really, all they have to do is win a handful more matches and they should be okay. Again, I've already mentioned this. Watford most likely is going down. Burnley's most likely going down. And Newcastle is struggling. Norwich is struggling. So again, there are multiple teams that are worse than Everton, even though Norwich did just beat Everton. But again, there are teams that can definitely lose to Everton as well if they get the right tactics formations going on. So right now, it's not set in stone yet that Frank Lampard will take on this position, but most likely will be the next manager for Everton. For him, I think this is a smart move in his career because if they go down, it's not his fault. This is all on everything else, not on Frank Lampard. If he keeps them up, he will be praised as doing a great job as a manager, and then he'll have a whole summer transfer window to bring in players that he likes and wants to bring in the club and keep building from that, and therefore I think Everton can grow as well with him as a manager. That being said, though, it still will be a tough task, so Frank definitely will have his work cut out at Everton. But again, I think if he gets a job, he will keep Everton up. So that is all I have for you today. If you did enjoy this video, I would greatly appreciate if you can like and subscribe to this video. Again, it goes a long way helping grow this YouTube channel and help getting this video out to more and more fans such as yourself. So that is all I have for you today, and I will see you next time.